Welcome to the Kissing Spine podcast. How nice of you to join. In this podcast, I discuss several topics around kissing spine, like what kissing spine is, the different medical treatments, the function of different body parts, functional and dysfunctional training techniques, saddle fit, and a whole lot more. All put together to help you support your horse with the kissing spine. I wish you a lot of fun listening, and if you like this podcast, make sure to become a subscriber so you won't miss any of my episodes. Hi all, and welcome back in Filakula, and welcome back to the Kissing Spine podcast. If this is the first podcast that you're with me, I have a husky and two Maine Coon cats running through the house, so it could be that you hear them or see them, and I'm doing this from my home. I don't have a full built studio, so I'm sorry if they cause you any distraction, but I'm just going to keep on going, and it's early in the morning, so they're a little bit awake. So this episode, I would like to talk about the emotional roller coaster of having a kissing spine horse and being in the kissing spine journey. And to start this episode, I would like to begin with some things that have been going on in my own life with my horses and, the whole impact that comes with that. I hear a dog coming. So lately I discussed with my boyfriend to move in together because we live about 40 kilometers away from each other and we're constantly back and forthing, and he lives in a very nice area where there's a lot of space and he has a beautiful home and there's enough space for me and my animal kingdom here. So by the end of 2022, we talked about, I'm going to sign up for a new yard because, I live in the Netherlands, if you didn't know that yet, and this country is a little bit too full with horses, which means, and actually with all the prices going up of the food and the bedding, and there's a lot of yard owners that decided to sell their yard, and either they're private property now or there's completely done something different in this place, which means that boarding yards are getting less and less while horses are not getting less. So finding a spot for your horse is already quite a challenge. Imagine having three that needs a new space. So I decided to put myself up on a waiting list. And I said, if I do it now, it could be 6 months before I find something. So to our surprise, I got a call 2 weeks later and everything just went a little bit quicker than we expected. But I found a spot for my horses, and one of the requirements for me was a little bit more outdoor time and more space and time in field and pasture, especially for Pura. Pura is my kissing spine horse, and if you don't know her background, I have a different podcast on my journey with her. I totally recommend listening to that to have a little bit more understanding of what my journey with her has been like. But Pura is turning 22 in June, and with this horse, pretty much everything that can be broken in a horse is broken. So over last year, I actually already saw her getting a little bit worse, and that breaks my heart, obviously, because this horse has been with me for the last decade and I owe so much knowledge to this horse, and I owe everything that I've learned in the last decade to this beautiful mare. And she had a stroke in December 2021, which took her about a month and a half out of the work. And, the downside of an older horse is that their muscles break down relatively quickly, and it's really hard to nearly impossible to build it back up, which means that every muscle she loses now, she's most likely not going to gain it back. So in August 2022, I brought my yearling to Germany to be with other young horses there for the next couple of years. And I brought Pura with me just so he wouldn't be alone on a trailer, and it was a fairly long journey. It was about 5 hours to be in a trailer. So I brought her with me so he wouldn't be alone. And when I took her away, he completely freaked out. So I left her there for almost a month and a half, another month and a half without work. So when she came back, she had lost yet again a lot of muscle tone. But her mobility in her joints, because in Germany where they are, it's very hilly. So she had to move up and down and sideways to get to water, to get to food, to get to shade, to get to sun. So all that moving over the hills has been really good for her joints and her mobility, but the lack of training took away yet again a fair bit of muscle. And, seeing my beloved mare going backwards, like going downwards, has been heartbreaking. If you are a member of my Facebook group and you look back to about August, you find a video of me crying that I had to leave her behind, because she's everything to me. So when looking for a new place, I really wanted to have a place where she could be more in the field, because I know she loves it, and I know that the more she moves, the better it is. And well, in Holland, it's either you have a full training facility and there's barely any outdoors time, or it's a paddock paradise, but then there's no training facilities, or very bad training facilities that are constantly flooded with water. And, it's really hard to find the perfect spot. Especially in the area where I live. The Netherlands is a small country, and there's not just a lot of horses, there's also a lot of people. So we have less and less free space and fields and stuff. So, in the area where I live, it's pretty crowded. It's very difficult to find the right space for our horses. So yeah, that's that. So although I really want to do the perfect thing, and ideally I would have the horses at my house, but those houses cost over $1 million, and I just simply don't have that money. So I cannot afford that. So because then I could do everything the way I want to do it for my horses, but that's just something that is not really going to happen anytime soon. That being shared, the transfer to the new yard has been a little bit disappointing. I'm not going to elaborate on that too much, but the people are fairly nice, but the organization is a little bit messy right now. They switched owners, and that just complicates horse people with horse people is sometimes a little bit of a maze to walk through. That being said, Pura right now is in an outdoor stall, and she has a few over the fields, and they have a lot of grass. So I'm really hopeful that over springtime they can be turned out. And honestly, when I moved her here, I thought that this was going to be the last year with her. Because, when I took her riding in the previous yard, we had a lot of indoor space. So no matter what the weather was, I could train with her, but she was just not really seeming to like it much. And like 3 days ago, I got on her in the new yard. We only have an outdoor arena, so not an indoor arena. It's going to be covered, yay, but not completely closed, yay. So I have a little bit the best of both worlds in the future with that. But she felt like a 5-year-old. She was so excited. Like before, I really had to motivate her to keep on going, and now she just felt super energetic and excited, and her steps were quite short, and it was not the ideal way of letting her move, but I just walked her in and started to improve over time, but she felt really energetic. So while I thought this was going to be the last year, I now a little bit have my hopes up that maybe I can drag her through another winter, maybe next year. And this is exactly the emotional roller coaster that a kissing spine horse comes along. And the older they get, the harder it's going to get, because then it's just not the kissing spine, but also, age related issues that may occur. And it is a journey of patience and resilience. So that is for sure. So I would like to discuss a little bit more the emotional roller coaster, because with Pura, honestly, in the last decade, I have felt defeated I have felt lost. I have felt like moments where I thought like, yay, she's getting better. And then a week later, she would have a thick leg or she would injure herself in the field and she was lame, like not dead lame, but just not sound. And I was finally in the motion that could ride her like for 20 minutes or something and walk in a little bit of trot after years of doing work in hand. And of course, for me, it took years to do work in hand because I had to learn everything and I didn't really have the right mentors to help me. So I had to sort everything out by myself, which took me like 4 years longer than it should have if I would have had the right people to help me out back then. But like finally I was in a point where I could ride her, and then she got lame, and I just felt so lost. Like, why can't I just get to a point with her that we can just do some really solid work, and I could really help her get better and stronger. Now we are in a phase that her back seems to be able to handle carrying me without losing the back being up and losing the full range of motion in her joints. And honestly, throughout the entire period, it's been ups and downs like this. The main thing I've learned, though, is that this emotional roller coaster is not necessarily kissing spine related. It's working with horses related, because the same setbacks and the same ups and downs I'm experiencing with Didi, and not so much with Raven. Raven has been physically really well, but she's been psychologically always been a little bit of a challenge with her high energy and strong mindedness, let's just call it that. So now I moved her to the new yard, and it's January now, and I honestly don't expect to be back on her until about March, when the temperatures go up and the arena is a little bit better to ride in, because now it's quite wet. And I don't trust her enough that I'm going to be safe on her back without like falling into a big pile of water. And normally that wouldn't matter so much to me, but I have to admit that after breaking my arm, I realized that I can break, with all the consequences of that. Having a business to run, and having animals, like I have 7 animals right now to feed. It just brings along a lot of responsibilities. And I have animals. I have a lot of animals, but others may have children, that depend on you. So you don't want to take the chance something happening to you when others are depending on your care. And that is a little bit the same thing that I'm dealing with right now with getting on Raven. I don't trust her enough for me to be safe without breaking anything. So that is thing that I'm currently working on. And I feel that in this journey with a kissing spine horse, a little bit more than with a healthy horse, I have to say, but every horse brings its challenges for you to overcome. And every thing that you come across is a chance to learn new things about yourself and to overcome fears and to find more confidence and find more patience. Like, one of the things that I really learned through this kissing spine journey is to put in effort and not wanting to have a result right away, but being willing to put in effort and maybe seeing the results in a couple of weeks, because I trust in what I was doing. It felt good to be doing what I was doing, and my Pura felt really good. The other horses that I started applying the same work with felt really good. So the work had proven to be very functional and to be very good for my horses. But honestly, the really muscle development and the really loosening up of the joints was something that took a longer period of time. And this patience of putting in effort and not being completely sure what the outcome was going to be, or not really like instant gratification, not needing that, and trusting the process enough that, if I keep on going, that the results will come. And having that patience and that determination, that is absolutely something that I've learned while working with a kissing spine horse. And I feel that having learned that with horses, I can apply that in different things in my life right now, which are absolutely helpful. And I feel that I have grown as a person because of it. But the thing is that personal growth that this journey can offer you, like the kissing spine journey can offer you a lot of things. One is personal growth, and another one is really expanding your knowledge about the horse body and training, and how the anatomy and the biomechanics, which is about the movement of the body, is how that is connected, and how you can take that into your advantage. Like having a kissing spine horse really can change you as a horse trainer, and the way you view and the way you experience and the way you approach horse training. So, while for some it's absolutely the worst thing that could have happened to them, that can be turned around into maybe one of the best experiences and journeys in your life. But that takes a little bit of a mindset change, I have to admit. And that is not always easy, especially if you feel like you've been doing such a good, like you've seen so much progress, and then you want to take the next step. And then it turns out that was a little bit too much, and it puts you back a few steps. And then you're like, oh, why did I do that? Why was I so impatient? And, you learn to take more responsibility for what you are doing. But that also comes with a tremendous amount of guilt because sometimes, like I should stop now, and then, but it feels so good. Let's do a little bit more. And then you go too far. And then your horse is a little bit uncomfortable for a couple of days, or, it will always result in something that you didn't want. Excuse me. So yeah, that is that is for sure a part of being in the kissing spine journey. In the beginning, though, before you get to the point where you feel that you can open yourself up to more learning and you can start to enjoy the process, the beginning, like if you purchased a horse, like I have 3 horses. Hi, Cat. I have 3 horses, and to be honest, if I cannot ride the one, there's always another one I can work with. So, I can get my fair share dose of horse vitamins every day. Let's just call it that. But most people purchase one horse. They have one horse that they want to compete with, and they want to go do hacking with, and they want to go on adventures with. And, when you especially when you buy your first horse, you've had this dream of having a horse for probably a very long time. And, this horse is turned into some sort of unicorn that you have this magical feeling with, and you can deny that this is something that you didn't do, but we all did that as horse girls. Let's be honest, and horse boys probably as well. Like we all had this dream of what having a horse is like, until you start mucking stalls, and then the dream already shatters a fair bit, and you're running around with hay and water in the rain. You're like, not so much the fairy tale I was thinking about. But this is the image that we had when buying our first horse, what having a first horse is like, or what having a horse is like. And then you start training your horse, and maybe you're doing really well, and then all of a sudden you have all these weird behaviors, and it feels like you're losing connection with your horse, and you don't understand each other. And it starts to become a very frustrating relationship, like one where you're fighting and discussing, and you cannot really seem to find each other, and you don't really understand, what's going on and why. And then you get the diagnosis, and some feel relief, like, oh, finally now I know why my horse is doing what it's doing, and it's not because he hates me. For some, it is absolutely devastating because they see all their dreams completely shattered apart. And all these things that I wanted to do with the horse might not be possible in the future anymore. And it's, it feels quite like heartbreaking. Well, I can come up with a lot of examples what it feels like, but I'm not even going to do that. It just sucks. Let's be honest. It just absolutely sucks. And, turning that, the first period is actually a sort of grief that you're going through. Not for everyone, but for a lot of people, it's grief. Like, they see their future with their horse being shattered into pieces. Then what happens is that you start to share with other horse owners, like, hey, this is what my horse is having and I'm struggling. And you will notice how many people have said to you, maybe you should just sell your horse. The fact that you love your horse and you purchased that horse for a reason, and maybe you have this real strong feeling like, I purchased this horse and this horse is going to die with me, he's my buddy, then you're not just going to sell this horse, right? So other people always have a very strong opinion about what to do with a kissing spine horse, but being in the journey yourself is a completely different experience, and you will feel fairly unsupported, most likely. It's going to take some time to really find people to surround yourself with, either online, because there are plenty of Facebook groups out there where you can connect with other kissing spine horse owners. But maybe in your area you can find someone or some people that you feel supported with. And I feel that that is very important to have, that you have people around you that you can brainstorm with, that you can exchange ideas with, to help you understand what's going on with your horse, so you can step by step replace every piece of the puzzle to get your horse up and going again. Kissing spines is not a diagnosis that per definition means that your horse will be unrideable for the rest of its life. A lot of depends on severity and the age of your horse. And, I discuss all this in other podcasts episodes, so I'm not going to elaborate on this too much right now. But it's not per definition the end of the world, but it is a door opening to learning new things. But learning new things, and especially the self-development that comes with that, is not always an easy path. You will find yourself in challenges that you can just start crying in the corner of a room and you're just like, I want to give up. Very, very normal. I've had that so many times. And not just with my kissing spine horses. I've had it with every horse that I had so far. I had moments that I just wanted to sit in a corner and cry my ass out. Like, this is never going to work out. I think every horse owner has had these moments. It's not moments that we really talk about, but they're there. Because we're working with living creatures. We're working with animals with a soul, with an opinion, with feelings, and it's just like with humans. These feelings are not always, and these emotions and these opinions are not always in times that are convenient to us. Same as with kids, like they always start to struggle at the least convenient moment in time. That turns out with horses, that sometimes is the same case. So, kissing spines for sure is a journey that will come with ups and downs, and sometimes it will feel like a complete emotional roller coaster. But I have to say that until this day, in my horse life, it's the best thing that has happened to me, because for me, I really started to connect the pieces of the puzzle in all the things that I didn't really like about working with horses, working with certain trainers. And I often I didn't really understand why I was bothered with some training techniques or methods, or like, for me, I want to understand why I have to do what. Like, okay, so I'm doing an exercise, but what is the point of this exercise? Like, what do I want to achieve with it? What is the impact on my horse's body, but also its mental state? So I wanted to understand things, and I grew up but that's how we've been doing it for the last 30 years, and it works. And luckily, the horse world is very much under development right now. And you see some amazing horse trainers out there like Tristan Tucker with the TRT method, Warwick Schiller with his attuned horsemanship, but also Featherlight Academy, who is doing more freestyle work, but also the way she approaches problem horses, but also train them to higher levels of dressage is absolutely mind-blowing. I find it so inspiring. And these people have really changed in a big way how we perceive horses and working with horses, and giving their emotions and their personality space to exist. And this journey for me really helped me incorporate that more in my training. It felt like for me, this was something that was not taken into account enough and by the trainers that I was working with and the people I was surrounded with. And this journey really made a difference for me. But also, what it also did, it made me more confidence, gave me more confidence. So while before I could feel really insecure, like, okay, I'm doing something completely different than everyone else is doing. Am I doing the right thing here? Being in this journey and seeing my horses change really made me feel more comfortable with doing other stuff than other people were doing because I saw the results of the horses that I was working with. So yes, it might be scary, and yes, especially when you're in the beginning of this journey, you might start doing things that you will never ever imagined that you would do. Like, honestly, when I was looking for a training method to start Pura training her back with, I just started Googling, like, okay, how to train the back of the horse. And I couldn't find anything. I spent hours and hours and hours on researching how to train the back of the horse. And there was like, do this for humans and you get like 10 different exercises that with explanation what muscle group you're training with what movement. Do this with horses, you cannot find it. So I was really disappointed. And then in the end, I found a lady here in the Netherlands that was doing Archer Ride, and she explained to me like what to do. And I started doing this under saddle with Pura, and Pura just kept on freaking out because the saddle wasn't fitting well and she was not able to carry me, looking in retrospect. But she said, okay, maybe you should go back to groundwork. And I said, lady, I've been lunging horses at professional yards for so long. I hate it. I'm not going to do lunging. And 6 months later, I had no choice because I just kept falling off Buddha. So I had no choice to go back to the groundwork. And I did lunge for a year without the real results that I was hoping for. And then I took the step back to work in hand and explained to Pura, okay, this is how you're supposed to move. Can we please do this with lunging now? And that's when, she really started to turn around. But my own stubbornness and, I'm not going to lunge. Well, we can still laugh about this because we're still in touch. But yeah, that was really my own stubbornness that was in my own way. So let me give you a small piece, or maybe very important piece of advice for you. In this journey, you're going to find a lot of information, and you're going to find a lot of information that makes sense to you, and you're going to find a lot of information that doesn't make sense to you. Maybe you can find stuff through the things I'm doing and you feel completely aligned with it. Maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. We're still friends. Don't worry. I'm not going to hate you. But what I want you to do with yourself is realize two things. One, whatever you want to do that you think that's going to give you results quickly and that takes gadgets into account, it's that you're going to try to get a quick fix. The thing with training is that building up muscle takes time. So if you expect to lunge for a week with some training aid and then everything is going to be rainbows and sunshine, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. It just doesn't work that way. So you need to be willing to invest time in order for your horse to get stronger in the right muscles, in the right places, and for the joints to get mobilized and to get full range of motion so the muscles can grow even stronger in the areas where they need to be growing. Okay? So as soon as you set yourself up for a quick fix, and you expect within 4 weeks magic is going to happen, you're going to be fairly disappointed if you want to do it in a happy, healthy way that keeps your horse happy, healthy, and in one piece. If you're going to push hard to get results fast, your horse is going to compensate in one way or another, and then you're just going to get some problems in another piece of its body. Okay? The second thing is, as soon as you find resistance, as soon as you feel resistance somewhere in your body, that someone is just telling you like, maybe you should do A, B, or C, or D, and you feel a lot of resistance, what I want you to do is really dig deep and sort out what that resistance is. Talk to a psychologist if you have to, because sometimes you get resistance because you're asked to do something that you're unfamiliar with, that seems very contradictory for something that you've been doing for the last 30 years. But then if you actually start doing it, it might turn out that it's the best thing that you can do for your horse. You can also get resistance because people are pushing you to do medical stuff while you feel that maybe right now it's not the moment. So there's a difference between gut feeling that's giving you advice that right now might not be the time, but there is also gut feeling like I need to do something that I don't know whether I can do it or whether it's going to get me where I want to be. And really sorting out your own resistance to things can help you make the right choices, and that will at least give you peace for the decisions that you make. And sometimes that means like at that point in time, I made the wrong decision, but I did it with all the knowledge that I had at that point in time. And with that knowledge, I couldn't have made a different decision, and you need to find peace with that. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you can try to research as much as you can, to talk to as many people as you can, and, really try to learn new things in order to help your horse get better and healthier. Because one thing we can conclude, that the things that you have been doing have not been working so far. At least if you're just in the beginning of the journey and you haven't really seen any results, obviously. So explore that resistance and see if you can figure out what it is that's holding you back, and what are the things that you're having questions with. Because the more clarity you have on that as well, the more you can do research to find more knowledge in that specific area. If you have any questions that you're like issues that you're running into your journey right now, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on my website, www.stjhorsetraining.nl. So whatever you're running into, I'm happy to help you along in the journey. If you want to know more about the psychological impact of kissing spines on the horse, check out my free webinar on the psychological impact. You can find it on my website or in the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. I would like to thank you again for listening to this podcast. If you think that this podcast is interesting to someone else, please share it on social media so others can find it too. This way we can create more awareness about what the options are with a kissing spine horse.